you can't expect influencers to do things when you're not doing it yourself. Who is the fakest influencer? Are you genuinely friends with other influencers? How much money do you make on social media? What's your worst experience with a brand? It's so obvious when people buy followers. Name me one justifiable reason as to why fake accounts exist. Hey guys, I can't wait to kick off the year with a really valuable and helpful Q&A. Now, a few months ago, I asked my followers if there were any specific questions they had for me with regards to social media, whether it's how to grow your account, how to get brand deals, how to monetize your account, am I friends with people from social media? And so I've kind of narrowed them down to 30 questions, which I know is a lot, but they're all really good questions. And so this video is going to be so useful for anyone who is interested in growing a platform, whether it's a personal brand or a business, or if you're genuinely just curious about my social media life, then this Q&A is going to be really fun and interesting for you. I'm going to answer these questions from my own perspective. Obviously, these are just my own experiences and my opinion. Someone else's experience on social media might be completely different to mine. I've broken the questions down into 5 key topics, and so I'll try to put the timestamps if you're interested in listening to something in particular. And I've probably left the juiciest one till last, so stick around for that one. I'm going to just start with the more general questions. First one is, what is my ultimate goal with social media? I have been thinking about this one as I was reflecting on the year and how I want to direct my 2022 on social media. And I think for me, it's just to continue to expand my reach, expand the brands I work with, making an impact and just continuing to add value. I think a lot of you guys might be wondering if I'm ever going to make the switch to doing it full time, but at the moment I'm not, and I genuinely just enjoy having it as a passion and a hobby. I haven't really thought beyond that because I just feel like social media changes so often. I don't know where I'll be with my life and my career either, so I don't really want to put pressure on myself to be like, I want to achieve this by this year. Number 2, what is my biggest pet peeve about social media? I think my biggest pet peeve with social media is the fact that a lot of people don't respect my time, and that's as an influencer and as my own business. I think a lot of people expect me to do things for free. They expect my time to be just given for free. They expect immediate responses, especially some men, the entitlement and audacity that they come with in my DMs, demanding answers for things. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a normal human being, and I have every right to pick and choose what I entertain and what I spend time on, and I also have every right to add a value to my time and my worth. And I just feel like a lot of people still don't respect that, and that's just not realistic or fair. What's something you've learned about being a content creator that you wish you knew earlier? I think it would be time it takes. I really underestimated how long it takes to make content, and I say that because you can make any form of content, especially things like TikTok, so quickly. But to make good, long-lasting, valuable content, I really think is such a hard skill that takes a lot of experience and a lot of time. And I'm still learning on the go, and I'm still trying to figure out what content really is best for you guys, best for me. But just the amount of time it takes and the amount of sacrifices you have to make in order to be successful on social media and a content creator, you have to give up a lot, and you have to really enjoy what you do. So yeah, I think that's something I wish I knew before. Okay, the next question is, would you ever make it full time? Now, I have touched upon this, and my short answer in the short term is no. I've said this before, but I really do enjoy being in the corporate space. I feel like it lets me use completely different skills, like my analytical skills I learned on my degree, my ACA, and I kind of just don't want all of that to just go to waste, because as much as content creation does require a lot of different skills, it doesn't require those skills. And so I kind of don't want to lose that side of me, but maybe long term I'll do something that combines the two. I might start my own business, who knows. Okay, the next question is, how is it being a British Asian influencer? And I could probably do a whole video on this in itself. There's definitely good things about it, because I feel like we're finally being given the recognition and the voice and the platform that we deserve to start making real change. We're finally getting some representation in media, but I still think there's just a long way to go. The South Asian market is often overlooked. I think a lot of brands are really quick to tick the diversity box and have, two ends of the spectrum. But I feel like brown influencers, South Asian influencers are often overlooked, and I feel like brands need to recognise that there's a lot more in between white and black, and so I think that's really hard. I also think the South Asian society and community itself doesn't help one another. The bad experiences I've had with brands and the ones that expect things for free are often the South Asian ones, and it's annoying because South Asian influencers are out here trying to work, trying to make a market for themselves, and it's the South Asian brands themselves that aren't supporting this sort of thing. I also think that there are a lot of South Asian brands that focus on the Eurocentric beauty standards, so a lot of the models you'll see, even if they are South Asian, will be tall, skinny, fair, light-skinned, and that's just not representative of the whole British Asian community, and so I still think brands need to just do a lot better. The next question is, how do you balance everything? And I think this is such a popular question I get asked. There's a lot of things I do to balance my time. I make to-do lists, I'm quite organised, I prioritise, and I think the main thing is I only take on what I know I can do. So I've become very good at saying no, setting my boundaries, and just actually taking a step back before accepting any brand collabs. I think, is this going to be worth it? Am I going to have the capacity to do it? And so once I only take on what I can do, it just becomes a case of managing it within the deadlines that I need to do it. And I think a big part of balancing everything is the fact that I enjoy it. So it's never seen as a chore to me. It's seen as a hobby and something that brings me happiness. What is your biggest motivator? Honestly, I have a few. Like, my parents are definitely one, because they've worked so hard to come here from East Africa and like build a life for my brother and I that they never had growing up, and so I feel like I always just want to make them proud, and that's such a big motivation for me. But especially on social media, I feel like my biggest motivator is you guys. Whenever I receive messages from young girls particularly being like, this video really helped me, or even guys who talk about their career, like I've inspired them to apply for this job, like that is like such a reminder of why I do it, because I genuinely can have such a positive impact on people, and it is the best feeling. So yeah, you guys really are my biggest motivators on social media. If you could change one thing about social media, what would it be? Probably like monitoring hate, like banning fake accounts. Like, why do fake accounts exist? Name me one justifiable reason as to why fake accounts exist, because I can't think of one. Stalking your ex does not count. I just think platforms need to be doing so much more. There are so many times that it's led to suicide, really negative mental health issues, and I just think that is like the one thing I would change about social media, because it can be so toxic and so horrible when you receive online hate. The next section is all about like tips on social media and how to grow an account. Okay, what are tips to grow organically and increase followers the right way? This is such a good question. Do not buy followers. Honestly, it's so obvious when people buy followers because their engagement is completely not reflective of the number of followers they have, and brands see right through it. So by buying followers, you will be doing more harm to your engagement than not. Like, it's so much better to have 1,000 followers that are 100% engaged than 50,000 followers and you've bought half of them. Like, that's not going to do you any good. So tips to grow organically: be really consistent with it. Generally speaking, I post every single day. I post weekly on YouTube. I post multiple times a day on TikTok, and I try and post daily on Instagram. If you think about it, it's a lot of content for the year, like a lot. The next thing I would say is being real and relatable, and that's what I found my growth in, is very much talking about not just the highs, as a lot of people do on social media, but I talk about my lows. I talk about real things I go through and things that people can relate to. I would definitely recommend doing that, especially in this day and age. Social media has changed and the way people use it has changed. So you can't just be a pretty face that talks about superficial things anymore. That's just my personal opinion. I also think engaging organically in like-minded individuals or brands that are doing similar thing and really building that online community is so important. It's no longer a case of just followers following you. Like, I truly do believe it needs to be a two-way thing. I try and reply to all my DMs that aren't weird, creepy men. I try and reply to comments, or at least like them. I try and curate content that my audience really want to see and benefit from. So yeah, it should be a two-way relationship, not just a one-sided thing. If you do all of those things for a long period of time, I guarantee you will see growth. How did you get started as an influencer? To be honest, I never ever thought I would be an influencer. I still like really refrain from calling myself that. I had a personal Instagram account just like everyone else, and I just really enjoyed taking pictures on holiday, of sunsets, of my food, of fashion, like a lot of people do. I think because I went out a lot, so I always used to dress up, and I used to go on holiday quite a bit. Places I'd go to, people would like tend to refer back to. It just started organically becoming an account that people were following. I never really thought anything of it, and I, to be honest, never changed anything that I did on social media. And then lockdown hit, and I decided to actually post an IGTV about, I think it was like a makeup routine or something, and the response I got was like people genuinely were listening to what I had to say. I just think people started buying into like Tanvi and my brand and who I am as a person. And so that is how I started, and I've only ever tried to be myself and talk about things that I go through myself ever since. Do you have a media kit, and how would you advise creating one? So yes, I do have a media kit. For anyone that doesn't know what a media kit is, it's just like a few pages that pretty much have like key information on it, like your brand, what kind of content you make, the number of followers, say like stats. It has your analytics of kind of your follower, like your gender ratios, your key locations. It has examples of brands you've worked with, and then I have all my prices, so all my different rates for different types of content across my social media platforms. And I created my media kit using Canva. I think Canva is amazing. There are so many different templates on there. What tips do you have for following a content routine? I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this, because I feel like my content routine, sometimes it's so good, like I'll know what I'm posting every single day for a month, but sometimes I literally just wing it, and I will decide on the day, this is an important topic right now, let me talk about it. And I much prefer doing that, to be honest, because I think it's important to stay relevant and be real on social media, and that very much means I've got to talk about things that I feel there and then. But there are lots of different tools you can use to schedule posts, to plan your content. I don't use any of them, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, the most I would ever do is have some posts ready in my drafts and have in my calendar what I'm gonna post each day. So I'll have like reel on this, post on this, YouTube video on this, and just so I have a rough idea. But honestly, that's not probably the best advice because... Okay, on to the next section. It's all about brands and collabs. Okay, so who is my dream brand to work with? I've thought about this a lot, and there are obviously a few, like there's not just one, but if I were to pick one, I think it would be Nike, because that is the one brand I have worn consistently since being like a child to now. I'm obviously really sporty, I'm into my fitness. I think they really focus on diversity. They are really cool in the way that they document and sponsor like athletes. Like, I just love the brand Nike and everything it stands for. So Nike, if you're watching this at any point, feel free to hit me up. Okay, do I like working with a brand who creates the idea, or do I prefer coming up with the campaign idea? I think it depends on the brand, because sometimes I actually do prefer having some direction, because at the end of the day, you're working for them when you're creating content, and you want content that they want you to produce. No one knows their audience better than the brand themselves. So if they know that there's something that works, or they're looking for something in particular that goes with a campaign, I would much rather them tell me. But I really love the whole concept of, this is a product or service we offer, make some content in any way, shape or form that would benefit your followers, because then I get to be creative, I get to be clever with it, I get to really think like, how are you guys going to benefit from this ad without it being addy? Does that make sense? So I like that whole process of coming up with the concept and idea. Okay, what's your worst experience with a brand? I've spoken about this before, but I think some South Asian brands are quite disorganized. Like, leave everything till last minute when it comes to photo shoots. Like, they don't really communicate timings and locations very well. And there was one brand that literally cancelled on me the day before a shoot, which I'd taken time off work, which in the corporate world you'll know is not always the easiest, especially in audit. They found out my height and were like, well, actually, we don't want you anymore. And to me, I just thought it was so unprofessional. And this brand itself, the woman was just so rude. I'm not going to say the name, but a lot of influencers in this South Asian space, like British Asian influencers, work with her and her clothing, and I refuse to. So okay, how do you approach companies if you want to work with them? Obviously you can find companies on Instagram, and you can definitely DM them on there, but I personally would recommend reaching out via email. And when you're doing so, remember to always be really professional. I always say, like, it's good to have an introduction, talk about who you are, what you stand for, then maybe have some stats to back it up. So like your engagement rate or your followers or some analytics from your Instagram. Then go into the type of content you could create for them, and then you can start the ball rolling with that conversation. You must get a lot of PR. What do you do with the items you don't want or use? And this is a really good question, because I'm so selective with the PR that I choose to receive, because I hate wasting things, especially things like skincare and makeup. Like, there's only so much of it I can use in a year. So I tend to say no, firstly, to a lot. But secondly, there will be definitely things that I get sent and I don't end up using. So I literally just give it to my mum or give it to my friends. I also have secret giveaways on my account where people who really engage with me and support me, I'll just DM them and ask them if they want this, because I'm not going to use it. So that's also a really nice way of me giving back to people that really support my journey. The last question on this topic is, how do you decide if you want to work with a brand or person? I think first impressions are really important, the way in which they approach me, because the way people message me sometimes is like I'm not a real human being, there's no manners. Then it's almost like what the brand does, and if I'm genuinely going to use that product or service, because I will not advertise things that I genuinely wouldn't use. And then it's kind of like the ethos behind the brand. So especially if it's like clothing or makeup, do they use different skin colours in their campaigns? Are they inclusive? Do they believe in being sustainable? And then last but not least, it's does come down to money for me, because I've definitely ended up having to prioritize things that are paid, because my time is limited, and so those campaigns do get a priority, and if they are able to pay me what my rate is. The next topic is all about money. Straight up, how much money do you make on social media? I wish I could give you like a definite number, but actually it's so volatile, because it's not like a salary, you get paid the same amount every month. It literally depends on how much work you get that month, and a lot of it is how proactive I am. So I could definitely go out and make way more money than I do, but I don't have time to, because it's not my full-time job. So at the moment I'm just kind of like seeing all the offers I get in and taking it from there. I don't really reach out to that many brands at the moment. I've definitely had good months, and I've got to say there have been months where I have made more on social media than my corporate job, which is insane to me. So I think people really do underestimate the amount of money you can make on social media if you do it in the right way. What are the different streams of income you make on social media? This is also a really good question, because I feel like people don't realise how many different types of income streams there are. I'm just going to talk about the ones I do, because there are things like affiliate links and stuff, but I don't really use that. But my main income streams, I would say, starting from most to least, would be brand deals, like sponsorships, ads, like that kind of thing, whether that's on YouTube, TikTok or Instagram. That's probably like my biggest earner. Then there's obviously things like AdSense, so that's just like monthly revenue I get from you guys watching these videos and every time you see the adverts. It's not very much, but it is always nice to have like a passive stream of monthly income. And then there's things like my modelling jobs, and that's quite a lot, but I do it not as often. So I literally charge by the hour, or I'll just have like a fixed day rate, and that covers me quite a bit, I'm not gonna lie. And then there's things like guest appearances or turning up to invites at restaurants. Some of these are paid as well, so they cover my time and me posting any content in addition to turning up. So those are kind of the different ways I make money, but as I said, the main source of income for me on social media is ads and sponsorships. How do you know if brands are offering an appropriate rate, and how do you set your rate? This is such a hard question, because I genuinely don't know the answer, and if anyone does, please let me know. I increase my rate every single month because my platform grows every single month. I don't really like going by the hour now, because I just feel like even if it takes me 10 minutes to make something, it doesn't reflect the worth of my engagement and my platform and my reach. So now I almost have just like a set rate for a TikTok that's 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. I'll have a set rate for a feed post, a reel. I've kind of got to those rates based on like supply and demand, testing the waters a little to see like if brands accept those rates, and a lot of brands have. So I was like, okay, these aren't too high. But one thing I would say is my rates are open to negotiation based on the brand, and if it's a small business, I have like a discount for them. And also my rates are constantly changing because my platform grows every month, and so my rates need to reflect that. So that's one good thing about social media, is that it's kind of unlimited income in terms of if you continue to grow, you're going to continue to make more and more money, which I think is really good because you're putting in that work, so you better reap the benefits. And how do I know if brands are offering an appropriate rate? Really, it's up to your discretion if you think that is worth it based on the brand and based on your time. Like, there's a lot of different factors that go into it that I've mentioned already. I've actually turned down a couple brands that were willing to pay me 4-figure deals because it's something that I didn't want to promote. Last topic, and as I said, most juicy topic, is all about like other influencers and friendships on social media and things like that. So the first question is, are you genuinely friends with other influencers? And my answer to that is 100% yes. I was really scared to like go to events and meet other influencers before I started doing it because it's really intimidating. Like, these people have huge platforms online. Like, you almost look at them like they're celebrities, but they're not. Like, they're just normal people as well. And I was so surprised at how nice all the girls were. Like, I've not had the best of experiences with toxic females, and especially South Asian females, but I would say majority of the people I have met through social media are so lovely. And one thing that is really nice is that we have a lot in common. We understand how much work goes into it. It's like a mutual respect. And so I love it. And I genuinely have made so many amazing friends through social medias who are other influencers, business owners, and like, I'm really grateful to have connected with them and for this platform. Okay, who is the fakest influencer? I'm not going to say them because I just think that's unfair, but what I would say is that what you see on social media isn't always real, and people can be completely different in person as they are online. Just don't believe everything you see and everything someone tells you, because they're only telling you what they want to tell you. And you guys can think that about me, which is completely fair enough, but I'd hope that me being completely open and real with most of my life would make you know that this is the real me. I just think I've met people and I know for a fact that they're completely different to what they're like online, and that's that. Moving swiftly on, best and worst thing about being an influencer. I think the worst thing for me is when I'm out, especially when it's a place that a lot of people go to, I sometimes feel like I'm constantly on edge or being watched, and I feel sometimes unsafe, especially when it's like guys who know who you are, because you don't know what their intentions are. That's another good point. I think dating as an influencer is 20 times harder now because people have almost made like assumptions about me. They don't really know like the real me or like the behind the scenes, and so they've already come to a conclusion as to like what they think I'm like or the type of person I am. And that's not just in dating, to be fair, that's just in general. And a lot of the time I get, oh, I thought you would be a bitch, like you're really scary, because I'm quite outspoken. But that doesn't mean I'm not a nice person and I'm not kind. And when you meet me in person, everyone always says, oh my god, you're actually so nice. So that's a bit annoying because it's like I try and be my authentic self all the time, but no matter what, people will always make judgments on you. But the best thing is the people that I've met 100%, and the opportunities I've been given. Like, some of the things that I've done this year are things that me as a little girl would have only ever dreamed of. And so I feel like I'm really living my dream, and I've had real pinch me moments this year. So that's definitely the best thing, the people and the opportunities for sure. Do you think people hold their favourite influencers to more scrutiny than they would their own friends? 100%. I think people expect a lot from influencers. Like, influencers aren't activists, yet people expect them to talk about everything and anything in the news. That's not always possible. They're not always the most educated on the topic. Definitely, I think there's a high expectation of influencers to deliver on those sorts of topics, when really that's kind of out of their realm and shouldn't be expected from them. And I do think sometimes, like, people expect things from influencers, but they don't even have that conversation with their own friends, or they're not even doing it themselves. That's the worst bit, is the messages I get sometimes when it's like, why haven't you shared this or spoken about this, or can you share? It's like, but you haven't even shared that yourself. And I know people will be like, well, you've got a platform, and I do try and talk about as much as I can, but everyone's got a platform. Even if it's to 100 people, you can't expect influencers to do things when you're not doing it yourself. I hope that makes sense. And that, my friends, is the end. Let me know your thoughts, if anything surprised you, in the comments below. And if there's anything I've missed or any more answers you want to know, drop your questions below and I will answer them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Again, I just feel like loads of you watch my videos but you aren't subscribed, and it will just really help me out a lot. So please do. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Lots of love and take care. Bye.